Yeah, I'm gonna use my cheaters. From the Chicago Tribune, discharged, now destitute. Shelters are seeing the first trickle of this generation of warriors. Is a tsunami next? More than 400 veterans of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars have turned up homeless. And the Department of Veterans Affairs AIDS groups say that they are bracing for a new surge in homeless veterans in the years ahead. Experts say it often takes several years after leaving military service for accumulating problems to push veterans into the streets. But some AIDS workers say the Iraq and Afghanistan veterans appear to be turning up sooner than the Vietnam veterans did. We are beginning to see across the country the first trickle of this generation of warriors in homeless shelters. But we anticipate that it's going to be a tsunami. And with more women serving in combat zones, the current wars are resulting in a higher share of homeless women as well. One national survey suggests that out of 196,000 homeless people in this country, 26% of the population are veterans. I am sick and tired of these chicken hawk politicians that talk about honoring our troops, sending them to Iraq to die, and when they come home, they cut their health care benefits, they cut their veterans benefits, and they force them into homelessness when they come home. If they fight for us abroad, we got to fight for them when they come back home. Let us all fight together and give our veterans the respect and dignity they have earned and deserve. All veterans in this audience, all veterans who have served in any of our branches of armed services, all veterans in this crowd, please stand. Just veterans. Stand. Honor these men and that woman right here. We honor him right now. Thank you so much. Thank you for your service. Let me close by talking about the mountain. Because in order for us to move toward a more progressive future, we as progressives must not only be defined by what we're against, but what we're for. Now, let me be honest with you. It's real. We got to stand up. When they come and tax Social Security and try to privatize it, we got to say, wait, no, we're not going to let you do that. So it's important to stand up against something. But let's talk about what we're for. We must paint a bold, new, clear vision of what we're for. In the past, progressives, right now, we kind of hold the moral authority on values such as equity and fairness and justice. But for some reason, we've allowed the conservatives to be seen as the pro-growth and pro-prosperity. No. Well, let me suggest that we couple and marry our traditional fight for equality with a fight for opportunity. That we marry our fight for justice with a fight for prosperity. That means we must call on a different type of investment, an investment in human capital. In the 21st century global economy that is knowledge-based, people, not just plants and equipment, are our most important assets. Economic growth and mass prosperity depend more on government investing in people. For every dollar that we invest in a child on the front end, that saves us $7 in the cost of remedial education, crime, and lost wages on the back end. So that means investing in high-quality, affordable health care as a right to all Americans. That means daycare and child care and investing in education, and not just K through 12, but early childhood, preschool, Head Start, before school, breakfast, during school, after school. And if we truly want to compete successfully in the global economy, we should rethink how we fund college education. Young people should not be saddled at their biggest debt at their least ability to pay. Footnote. For every, my cheaters again. I have 5 minutes. I got to run. For every 70,000 engineers a year that the United States graduates, India turns out 350,000 engineers a year, many of them coming here to attend our universities and then go back home and compete against us. For every 70,000 engineers that the United States graduate, Chinese graduate 600,000. Many of them going to school over here, taking the skills they learned here to go back home and compete against us. Now, I'm not telling you all that to hate on China or to hate on India. Just because they got the sense that God gave a billy goat and invest in their students to compete, we should do the same thing here in this country. We need to provide college education based upon ability to perform and not just ability to prepare. We're not going to leave no kid behind, none. We're just as smart as anybody else. And lastly, energy independence and global warming. We must demand a bold, comprehensive energy independence plan. We have to develop alternative fuels. We need lower fuel costs. We need to cut carbon emissions. And we need to restore and reclaim our rights to clean air, clean water, safe food. And Lord knows, we have to address the critical problem of global warming. And I'm not just talking about some incremental tinkering around the edges. We need a bold energy and environmental plan, just like President Kennedy's space program. We need to challenge ourselves to achieve independence by a date certain, and it must contain three components. We are no longer dependent on non-renewable sources of energy such as oil, that America itself can produce enough energy to meet our core needs, and that we are no longer dependent on energy sources that will destroy our climate or environment. These three initiatives together will address many of the core economic factors that are destroying America's middle class. But we can't get there with candidates who have high aspirations, but their policies don't match. I look at people saying we got to go higher and that change is possible in America. Then I look at their policies and it don't match. So in order for us to get the policies and the program that we want in place, in order for that big, bold, progressive change, we need to go to the mountain. We need to go to the mountain and build a movement of people. For if history is any guide, major wars always leave a wake of social turbulence that destabilizes the status quo and allows progressives to advance. Ordinary people. Ordinary people. Let me give you one example of an ordinary person. He was a beekeeper. How much ordinary can you get within that? Everything that was declared impossible, that everything we've done that's hard was once declared impossible to do. So reading about this guy, he's a beekeeper. As a pupil at his grammar school, he was called No Great Shakes. He was a no-hoper at the university. He described himself as average, modest abilities. His words, a few weary steps and there was nothing above us but sky. There was no false cornice, no final pinnacle. Awe, wonder, humility, pride, exaltation. These surely ought to be the confused emotions of the first men to stand on the highest peak on earth after so many others had failed. This year, Sir Edmund Hillary in January died. He was the first to scale Mount Everest, something that was declared impossible before he got started. So I want y'all to have a mountaintop experience. And what that means to me, you can't lead where you don't go, and you can't teach what you don't know. So I want you all, in your own way, figure out a way to go to the mountain and see what a world looks like if we have high quality, affordable health care for everybody. What would a world look like if we provided high-quality public school educations for all of our children? What would a world look like if we made sure that every man and woman who wanted to work has a livable job with a living wage and safe working conditions? You can't lead where you don't go. You can't teach what you don't know. And I want you to look and see what that world looks like. That means coming out of the valley where the people are. and climbing that mountain and look over. And once you see it, you have three choices. Number one, when you see what that world looks like, the world of riches, the world of money, more money than you can spend, that this country has, you can decide, I'm going there by myself. And I'm going to get some of that money. I've been in the valley, but I'm going right now and crossing over. And you can cross over by yourself. And you know, I'm not saying that we're not supposed to make money, but too many of our people make money, they don't come back. Well, the second thing you can do is you can stand on top of the mountain and you can yell down in the valley and you can say, hey, why y'all still down there? Come on up here on this mountain, because over here I see a different world. I see a better world. And if y'all just climb this mountain, the problem is they can't hear you. You're in the mountain looking down, and they're in the valley looking up at you and they don't hear you. But the third thing you can do is once you've seen the mountain and you climb that mountain and seen the other side, you can go back down in the valley. You can go back down in the valley and let people know what you've seen. I close with the last words, the last speech, the very last speech that Dr. Martin Luther King gave. I didn't know what he meant back then when I was younger, but I kind of get an idea now. He said, let us rise up tonight with a greater readiness. Let us stand with greater determination. And let us move on in these powerful days, these days of challenge, to make America what it ought to be. We have an opportunity to make a better nation. And I want to thank God once more for allowing me to be here with you. I don't know what will happen now, but it really doesn't matter with me now, because we've got some difficult days ahead. And I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He has allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you tonight, but I want you to know that we as a people will get to the promised land. And I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. And if we stand together, let the record reflect that on this day, on Sunday, May 4th, 2008, that the people in this room stood together, stood tall, stood together, stood tall. Hold on, hold out, hold up. Weeping may only endure for a night, but joy is coming in the morning, and we'll be one step closer to getting rid of those deficit creating, treaty breaking, environment desecrating, inequality escalating, influence peddling, fear mongering, torture condoning, secret keeping, memo leaking, document shredding, race baiting, free speech hating hypocrites, and give America back to the people. Thank you so much, Citizen New York, for 25 glorious years. Have a good convention.